Say it again, my aunt whispered, half laughing, half drunk, as the cake candles flickered and bent like they were tired of standing. My mother smirked, wiped frosting from her finger and said it louder this time, "You were a mistake." The room went quiet so fast I could hear the candle crackle. Someone coughed. Someone laughed again, softer, mocking. My father stared at his plate like it might disappear if he waited long enough. The chair beside me looked like it was waiting for me to fall apart. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I felt something colder settle behind my ribs. My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 34. When did love turn into a performance where I was the punchline? My mother tilted her head, watching for tears that never came. "Oh, don't be dramatic," she said, waving her hand like she was brushing crumbs off the table. My sister avoided my eyes. The candles kept burning, steady, stubborn. I stared at my reflection in the dark window behind the cake. I looked calm. Almost empty. And in that silence I understood something with terrifying clarity. Some families don't break you loudly. They erase you gently. They sang after that. Softly. Off-key. Like nothing had happened. I blew out the candles because everyone was watching, and the smoke curled upward, thin and gray, clinging to the ceiling as if it didn't know where to go. My mother clapped once, sharp. "See? She's fine," she said, smiling at the room. Always so quiet. Like a ghost. The word stayed with me. I cleared my plate and carried it to the sink. My hands didn't shake. That scared me more than if they had. In the hallway mirror I caught my own eyes, flat, alert. Like someone already halfway gone. Later, in my childhood bedroom, the house noises settled into their usual rhythm. Laughter from the living room. A chair scraping. The TV too loud. My sister's voice floated down the hall. "She's always been sensitive," she said. "You know that." I opened my closet and pulled out the old blue scarf I'd kept since college. Folded inside it were my documents. Birth certificate. Passport. The envelope felt heavier than paper should. At 11:47 p.m. my phone buzzed. "Mom, don't sulk. You embarrassed me tonight." I stared at the message, then placed the phone face down on the bed. The house felt suddenly hollow, like it had already decided I didn't belong. And for the first time I let myself imagine the quiet after leaving. I didn't pack clothes, I packed proof. The drawer beneath my bed slid open without a sound. Bank statements. Old emails I'd printed years ago and never understood why I kept. A small flash drive taped to the back of a photo frame. The one from my graduation where my mother's smile never reached her eyes. The house breathed around me. Pipes ticking. Someone laughing again, loud and careless. The sound pressed against my skin. At midnight I logged into my account. The balance stared back, neat and obedient. I moved the money slowly, carefully, like you would lift a sleeping child. One transfer. Then another. My name looked different on the screen when it stood alone. A floorboard creaked outside my door. I froze. My sister's shadow passed under the crack. She paused. I held my breath until my lungs burned. After a moment her footsteps drifted away. Somewhere a door closed. Somewhere a family stayed whole without me. I wrapped the documents in the blue scarf and slipped them into my bag. The mirror above the dresser caught me again. I touched the glass just once. "I won't explain myself anymore," I whispered. Not to anyone. Not even to her. Outside, the sky was beginning to change color. And so was I. The front door opened with a soft complaint, like it wanted to warn someone. I stepped out anyway. The air before sunrise was thin and cool, brushing my face like a clean sheet. The house behind me stayed dark. No lights. No voices. No one asking where I was going. My car waited at the curb, dusted with pollen and silence. When I started the engine, the sound felt too loud, but the windows across the street stayed black. I drove without the radio, without a plan that had words. Just direction. At the first red light, my phone lit up. Missed call. Home. I didn't answer. By morning I was 2 towns away, sitting in a diner that smelled like burnt coffee and old hope. The waitress called me Han without looking at me. I wrapped my hands around the mug and let the heat remind me I was still solid. I checked my phone once. 5 missed calls. A message from my aunt. "Your mother's upset." Where did you go? Upset. Not worried. Not scared. I opened my laptop and plugged in the flash drive. The files bloomed across the screen. Spreadsheets. Notes. Copies of contracts I wasn't supposed to have. Things my father used to say weren't my business. I closed the laptop gently. Outside the sun climbed higher. They would start looking soon. And they wouldn't understand what they'd lost. By noon the calls turned frantic. My phone vibrated across the diner table like it was nervous. My father this time. Then my sister. Then my mother, 3 times in a row. I let it ring while I folded the blue scarf tighter around my wrist, feeling its soft edge press into my skin. An anchor. The waitress refilled my coffee. "Everything okay?" she asked, finally meeting my eyes. "Yes," I said. And it surprised me how true it felt. I paid in cash and drove to a quiet public library where no one asked questions. In the bathroom mirror I studied my face again. No makeup. No smile. Just a woman who had stepped out of a story she didn't consent to. I opened my email and sent one message. Short. Polite. To someone my father had once told me never to contact without him. "I have documents. I believe they belong to me." The reply came faster than expected. "I was wondering when you'd reach out." My phone rang again. This time I answered. "Where are you?" my mother snapped. No hello. No apology. "Do you know how this looks?" I watched my reflection lift the scarf, tie it slowly, deliberately. "I know exactly how it looks," I said. And for the first time she was silent. The silence on the line stretched. I could almost hear my mother searching for a tone that still worked on me. "You're being childish," she finally said. "Come home. We'll talk." Home. The word felt misplaced, like it belonged to someone else's mouth. "I already am talking," I replied and ended the call before she could breathe in again. My hands were steady as I turned the phone off. In the library's back corner, sunlight cut across the table in a thin, clean line. I laid out the papers one by one. Dates. Signatures. Numbers that didn't add up unless you knew where to look. My father's voice echoed in my head from years ago. "This is adult stuff. Stay out of it." I hadn't stayed out of it. I'd stayed quiet. At 3 in the afternoon I met him, the man from the email. He didn't smile when he saw the documents. He nodded, slow, almost respectful. "You understand what this means," he said. "I do," I answered. And I did. Not revenge. Not drama. Just truth placed where it could no longer be ignored. When I stepped back outside my phone buzzed again. Dozens of missed calls now. Messages piling up like unanswered prayers. For the first time I didn't feel erased. I felt undeniable. By evening the city lights flickered on like tiny witnesses. I walked along the river, the blue scarf tied around my bag handle, feeling its weight, its history, its promise. The messages kept coming, urgent and pleading, but I ignored them. My life had shifted to a rhythm they no longer controlled. I had arranged a meeting. One small, quiet room, 2 witnesses, contracts signed long before my parents realized they existed. I watched the transfer take effect. Slowly, deliberately, the control I never had in my family home shifted to me. Not money, not possessions, but leverage. Proof. Power hidden in plain sight for decades. My phone buzzed again. My father. "Call me." I didn't. Not yet. I went back to the diner where I had first stopped, ordered a coffee and let the steam rise into my face. I watched the world continue around me, oblivious. That was my advantage. Their assumptions that I was small, silent, powerless. I allowed a small, private smile to curve my lips. Quiet dignity, not fury. Silent victory, not spectacle. And in the distance my mother's number blinked. I could feel the panic through the vibrations in the table. But I wasn't panicking. Not anymore. I realized something then, something the house never taught me. Families can burn you slowly, but fire only works if you stay inside it. I was already outside. The next morning my phone lit up with dozens of messages. My mother, my father, my sister, all desperate, all frantic. The tone had shifted from annoyance to fear. I didn't reply. I watched the screen for a moment, feeling the weight of every unanswered word. At noon I received a single call from my father. Hesitant. Small. "Evelyn, we need to talk." I picked up calm. "You already know what you need to know." He swallowed and I could hear it. His authority, his pride, all quietly eroding over the line. How did you?" "I learned," I said softly. "I stayed quiet but I never stopped watching. And now it's yours to see." I didn't say another word. I hung up, leaving him with the documents, the accounts, The undeniable truth that had been under his nose for years. My mother's laughter, my sister's whispers, they echoed only in memory, powerless now. I walked out into the sunlight, scarf wrapped around my wrist. The city smelled of rain and possibility. No vengeance needed, no words shouted. Poetic justice doesn't roar. It whispers. It settles. It leaves you standing, finally recognized, finally free. And as I watched the world move forward, I smiled quietly, knowing some things, like truth and dignity, can never be taken away.